Shalom, 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 and welcome this evening. I'm so excited to Simchah. We are Na'Shay Chayil. Well, my name is Ametia, Ametia, and I'm so happy for those that are tuning in. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. If it's not your first time, then you already know what to expect, right? Just a night, hopefully full of great information and sisterhood. So as always, we welcome everyone to Na'Shay Chayil, and what we're trying to do is an effort as sisters to be able to come together, to learn, to grow together. And how we learn is through one another. We learn from one another. So I'm just going, because I'm so excited right now, I can't even think. I just want to bring everybody in. We'll just bring everybody in, because this is where I'm at right now. Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Hello.
I just couldn't even.
Shalom, everyone.
The vibe was so right in the back. I couldn't even just do it. So let me introduce. We have a Coach Nasika. Nasika on our side. Well, a Coach Nasika. We have a Coach Shakina. We have a Coach Angel. And we have a Coach Azaria Slika. And just welcome, y'all. I missed you.
Welcome.
I missed y'all too.
Right.
Yes. It's been a long
time.
It feels like that. I'm excited about. I'm excited about tonight.
Yeah.
I'm excited about tonight. So I was just saying, like, we're in Na'Shay Chayil. This is a lovely segment called Simchah, and it's the joy of study. For those that do not know what that means, it is the joy of study. And we want everyone to enjoy what it is that they are studying in this way of life, but also through our experiences through life. We learn through the experiences in which we have. And what we're finding out is that we all share common experiences. And those are the things, that thread that kind of binds us together. So I'm so excited. Shalom to all sisters out there.
Shalom, shalom, everyone.
Oh, we missed y'all.
Glad that y'all came back.
Yes. Listen, I'm like, my notes are everywhere. Listen, where we starting? What we doing? What's tonight's topic?
How can we nurture each other if we see each other as enemies?
We'll jump into it.
Get your water ready. Get your tea ready.
Wow. Everything.
I mean, we here today. We're gonna break those barriers tonight.
Yes.
Tonight, I feel that is what the true intention is, to be able to break down these barriers and these walls.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that has been built up through our own personal experiences, through generational experiences and trauma, right? And find a way that we can be able to come together, because we clearly know it can happen, right?
Yes.
We know that there's a way for us to nurture each other, but we have to get past not seeing each other as a threat.
Absolutely.
And that's where it kind of starts. So when I'm just going to go through the room real quick, and I'm going to ask, when this topic was brought up. So one thing I will say to those that might be new, recently, if you check out our YouTube channel, Na'Shay Chayil, you will see where we've done, this is a series. This is part 2, actually. Part 1 was simply, what is it to be a woman? And that is the name of the series. What is it to be a woman? A question that a lot of times you may find ourselves saying, like, who am I? What is my purpose for being here? But sometimes we have to even go deeper than that. And it's like, it led us to what is it to truly be a woman? And period, point blank. Last time we wanted to explore that, which brought out the question about how we nurture each other, but seeing each other as a threat, which brought us to part 2. And here we are now. So even from our last topic till now, when you hear, how can we nurture each other if we see each other as enemies? I'm curious to know what was going through your head. Like, where's your headspace? You know, I'm starting with lasagna. Yep.
Right. I was just about to say.
Right. Okay. Because I said it, right?
Y'all.
Yeah.
And I said what I said. No. No, because I feel like what was going through my head was that first of all, the sisterhood is super broke, right? And so in order for us to fix it, we have to be able to be real about what's broken about it, you know?
Mhm.
And I'm always gonna keep it 100 with y'all. So I just started thinking about my experiences in sisterhoods and with women and all of that. And I was like, the desire that I have in my heart to be nurtured by my sister, but what's keeping me from that, versus the moments that I was nurtured by my sister and how much it helped me and how much it helped me to develop and grow. And so I said, well, what prevents me from having a pure relationship with my sister? Is like, I see her as an enemy. My experiences dictate that my sister is an enemy to me at times. And when it works, it works. But when it's broke, that's what it is.
Mm.
So,
Angel.
Oh, wow.
Right?
For me, I don't know. I'm all over the place with this topic. Only because I have personal issues going on right now, and um, I've been around a lot of women. I won't say that I have such a great bond with them, and I think now that I'm older, I'm learning how to develop that. You know, when I was young, I'm like, oh, I don't have time. I don't have time for the pettiness, for the arguing, for whatever catty reasons that things happen between females. I just was never on that wave. But I come to realize that it stems from deep rooted issues for me, from my mom, and just, love in the household, and how to the relationship that I have with her, which is, right, the first female I guess I ever met, right? So I guess I just have to work on that relationship in order to build with everyone else. But being in this setting and meeting all of you ladies have really grounded me in a sense. Like I'm really learning how to be a better sister, and how to just to communicate. That was like really my biggest issue, is how to communicate. Like I might see you and, oh, she's pretty and all this and all that, but just to talk to you, like Azaria said, what is it that prevents me from saying, hey sis, can we just, politics? That's what I'm trying to discover for myself as well. So I have now.
Shalom, everyone. I think I have a lot of views on this topic, but one of the views that I bring myself back to is just realizing that we're all the same in similar situations. We all have parents, we all have siblings, we all have children. And the list goes on and on. We all have happy times, we all have sad times. We have so much relatable things. Sometimes you might just catch that person off key, meaning that maybe somebody might have passed away, maybe this, maybe that. Maybe that energy is not the right energy that you're coming out with. Enemy wise, like Azaria was saying, I just feel like to keep it real as well, it's just like, there's ground rules for us females, and I feel like a lot of the times in the Israelite community, boundaries get crossed. With men, that's just like a number one topic that I can bring up. Like, I think if mending some areas is with the men, if you know that this person is with this individual as a female, we can just start from step one. How do you then say, what is the proper way to say hello to somebody's significant other? I'm not going to go all deep line, like, oh, she's talking to him, or I'm just saying, like, to make a female feel comfortable. I feel like those are one of the areas we need to target. So at the same time as I'm saying shalom to my sis, I can feel good and know that I said shalom to her significant other in a way that it doesn't disrespect the foundation of every angle.
right.
And it's vice versa too. When a male speaks to somebody's Isha. Like, I think, we want to get into it. These are the areas of then why people call people enemy. Like, I don't like the way she looked at my man, like, different scenarios like that. That's just one of them that I wanted to bring up. And another point that I want to bring up is fixed versus group. At Unity Shabbat, one of the rabbis had mentioned, you can either be fixed and, the ways that you go about things, you're fixed, you want to continue to be this way, or versus you want to grow. Okay, I know this person, I don't really like her, don't really care for her like that, but I want to grow at this point. What can I do to grow and maybe like her? And you never know, that could be your best friend later, or it can be somebody that can help you out in the end. I have more points. I'll get to it later, but that's
Hey, you got a
That was
couple
good.
points.
Definitely.
Simchah.
I would say, how can we nurture each other if we see each other as enemies? The first thing is first is yourself. When I see a Metia, I see myself, right?
Mm.
And it might be qualities that I might not like of myself, but I
Mm.
could see it in
It's
you.
true.
So
Yup.
therefore, I'm going to automatically put that barrier up and say, you know what? I'm not feeling her. She's good. She can sit over there, you know? And you have to come and be open minded, especially when you go to different events or go to the shul, the synagogue, the camp, the temple, wherever you go. You're there for one purpose and one purpose only, right? And I was tuning into Tamar and Hayafa last night on their talk show, Tuesday, in regards to balance. And I thought that was very interesting because I thought about what we're discussing tonight as enemies. I think the bickering, the most top three things why people consider each other to be enemies as sisters is one, of course, Shakina just stated, men.
Mm.
Two, oh, she wears jeans. She don't wear a skirt.
Yes.
That's judgment. Let's not judge people. I'm not here for the judgment. I don't judge you. You're more than welcome to wear whatever your heart desires. And then three, um, how quote unquote of an Israelite you are. Like, what is that whole uh, formula? Let me know because I might not have the right formula, and you thinking there's one formula, but are you even righteous to even say that that's the formula? So therefore, now you're treating me as an enemy, and it
Mm-hmm.
says in the Tanakh, let's bring out the scriptures, ladies.
Yeah.
You know, to love each other. And I think at this present time, we're not loving each other. We need to do more of it. And I see that there is growth. So I think this topic is going to be really interesting. We're just going to bring down all the barriers. And hopefully, my prayer for this conversation tonight is for all of us to get closer.
Yep. Me too.
Well, just my little piece, 2 cents. When the topic and us discussing this topic, or knowing that we would be discussing this topic, I was excited about it and a little nervous at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And because us, like when we talk, right? And my hope is that in that same vein, we can still do this in this form. And I'm a piggyback and say keeping it as real as possible. That there are, and I'm a true believer that there are narratives that have been written for us in which we didn't write.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, a lot of what we also put into the atmosphere is the things in which we notice come back to us.
Agreed.
I agree that it starts with self. I'm a big proponent on checking you before you get ready to check somebody else.
100%.
Yes.
Like, what's your yard looking like while you worrying about what my yard looking like?
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like there is that healing, that self healing of self that we have to work on. And I think it's even from, getting in my psychology bag. It's even from stemming from childhood. There's a lot of things that we've gone through as children, whether in the home or outside of the home, that has also helped to shape our relationships as we grow to be adults. The thing is that we never really tap into, do I have to be like this?
Hmm.
Do I need to be like this?
Mm.
When you grow up with defense mechanisms, when you grow up watching other people with defense mechanisms, piggybacking off of Angel, when you grow up with watching, and I just posted this on my on my stories. Like it went something like, heal yourself before having children, so that your children don't have
Seen
to
that.
worry about healing themselves from their parents later.
Yes.
A fact.
Unfortunately, a lot of us grew up in the pain of our parents,
Mm-hmm.
whether they knew it or didn't know it, whether we understood it or didn't understand it. A lot of what we grew up with was their pain. So what they were projecting upon us, we took hold to it and thinking this is, I'm gonna say Bible, so to speak, right?
Mhm.
And then once we held on to it, we didn't know how to like realize as we went along in our own journeys, like this ain't got nothing to do with me. Like, well, why am I like this? Or why when I see you, the first thing I do upon meeting you is gloss you.
Mm.
I gotta fix my face. I gotta turn my head. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
just a compliment because when she walked in the door, she was cute. What was wrong with just saying that? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So I took it, and coming into this like us exploring this made me automatically go to our inner recesses, what our pains are individually, and I'm trying to understand, how do we fix self first. So we can't talk about fixing community. We can't talk about
A
sisterhood.
fact.
We can't talk about none of that. We can't talk about none of that
Right.
until we get to the point of fixing self.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear that that's one of the hardest things that
Listen,
It is.
struggle with.
living
It is.
testimony right here.
But why do you think that is, though? From experience, even.
I don't know. I guess maybe just communication. I just keep going back to communication because for me, it's like I block out a lot of things. I would do something else to take my mind off it. I'll be in the kitchen cooking. I got a problem. I'm going to cook. You know what I'm saying? Instead of expressing what my problem is. So, or how I feel, because I'm sheltering someone else's feelings, or I don't want you to feel bad because of how I feel. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think a lot of people, when you tell them how you feel, they take it personally. And instead of, oh, that's not how it is, and they don't understand that's how you feel, though. It might not be the exact situation, but that is your feeling in that moment. And I tend to have a lot of issues with that. I guess delivery and people just thinking I'm coming for them. Like, regardless if it's my mom, my husband, my children, it's all the same thing. So I'm working on my delivery and communicating how I feel instead of shutting down and bottling it. And then it just comes out like a big explosion, and everybody and their mama looking at me like I'm crazy as heck. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, something's wrong with her.
Right.
That's what it is. I don't know about you, ladies.
I want to
Yes.
I want to just piggyback off of Angel and bring up my next point as well. I was looking on the internet, and then I found this interview on the Breakfast Club, and they was talking about how people have lack of emotional intelligence. And I was just like, wow, that's kind of deep. I'm just like, where they going with this, And then they broke it down. So then the emotional intelligence is, one, you have to have self-awareness. And then once you have self-awareness, then you have to have self-management. Once you have self-management, then it's the social awareness. So when I really wrote, I rewinded it back and wrote it down because I really thought that was really deep, because I'm just like, I never even heard of emotional intelligence before. And then when you really think about it, everything that you do is run off of emotion. Both people, the way you interact with every individual, even the way you even treat yourself, like what kind of emotion are you giving to yourself? What kind of emotion are you giving to your loved ones. And then the thing about it, when I spoke to Nasika, I'm not going to give Nasika's answers, but I'll give mine. But when I started thinking about the three pillars that they were saying, I'm like, okay, sometimes I do have self-awareness. I know where I'm at. I know who I'm talking to. I talk to y'all about that all the time. But I'm like, the self-management part, I felt like that was one of the key areas that I know I need to improve on. Self-management, again, is learning how to interact with that individual on a basis ground of where y'all at. I spoke about this before, but if you're not cool with that person or you just don't like them, how are you going to self-manage yourself that you can come out to be the higher person or even try to resolve the situation at hand? Self-management is sometimes being the positive person, and it takes sometimes being a positive person takes it more energy, and sometimes it's harder to do. So I feel like, with the self-awareness and the self-management, if we learn how to start managing our emotions and not reacting all the time or just sitting still. And these are things that we say repetitively all the time, but we really have to start applying it. I feel like our communication, like Angel said, would be better or improved. I mean, things don't happen overnight, but I feel like emotional intelligence is definitely necessary, and they're saying in the world there's a lack of it. So everybody's out here on emotion drive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's out here like, yo, like, my emotions is me, like a selfish kind of act of communication. So I feel like, especially dealing with somebody that you dislike or maybe have an issue with, that's a tool that you can use, a self-management tool, and not riding on your emotions. So I wanted to bring that up as an example as well.
I think that's a good one as well. I just feel like at the end of the day, first off, enemies. The word enemies is very broad, right? And it could be very short and simple. She's my enemy because because Angel's wearing red today. I don't like red. I'm not going to choose to deal with her ever again because she doesn't like red.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry, I took it there. Let's dive into this, right?
Right.
Because just because you don't like red does not mean that it might not be sis' favorite color. You know what I mean? Get to know the person. And what I usually do is give everybody the benefit of the doubt. First and foremost, we got two things in common when I first meet you as an Israelite sister. One, you know the Most High. That's
Here
the
we
first thing
go.
we got in common.
Common ground.
Two, I am my sister's keeper.
Word.
Okay. And so I'm coming to the table just like that. Now, if you choose to bring all that extra baggage that you coming with, then we're gonna have to sit down and find out what's going on. Like, how can I help you, assist you, but I'm not carrying your burdens for you. So that's the difference when it comes down to interacting with another individual. That intelligence, the emotional intelligence, what Shakina was saying, and so we find ourselves a little stuck because we don't want to open up completely to get burned because we have been burned several times. However, I still give everybody the benefit of doubt until you prove me wrong. And I think
Absolutely.
we should all do that until you prove me wrong. And then when you do prove me wrong, I saw a quote stating, because I love quotes, people don't realize you could forgive them without even speaking to them. Again, it's not a grudge, it's a peace of mind. So if I don't speak to you, it's for my peace of mind. I really don't care how you proceed to press go. However, we have to do better because once we do have that problem where it does get a little complicated, this slander, there's false information given out about the person, and then the next person
Right.
misses their blessing because they just heard everything that Shakina just told me about Ametia. So now I'm not even going to go ahead and associate myself with her because of that situation. We have to stop. I mean, the truth is the truth. So if that is a situation where you did get yourself all rattled in, speak your truth, sis. I'd rather you speak your truth versus you portraying yourself to be somebody else that you're not. And that's another issue. But I'm here for it all tonight.
So I'm gonna look through a little of these comments real quick. And
Yeah.
in one in particular, I kind of want to hit on is my sister Narkava,
Yes.
where she said it's a reflection, like she's piggybacking off of Tamar, when it says women interact with other women based upon how one views self. And just
That's
like
one.
at Tamar, Yisrael said, it's a reflection of self. If you're not secure in yourself, you're more than likely going to gloss a sister instead of genuinely receiving her. So, kind of like what everybody is talking about is what we would call transpersonal psychology, in a sense, right? So, that emotional intelligence that you're talking about, it's actually a method.
Hmm.
And the idea of it, and I'll even get into quoting more to be more specific, is to explore human growth and help people to discover a deep and more enduring essential self that exists beyond the conditioned ego. All
Mm.
of this is in an effort to heal oneself.
Hmm.
It always comes back to self.
So,
And each one of you touched on that. So even when we talked about emotional intelligence and that self awareness and that self management, a lot of the issue comes down to discipline, right? And nobody likes the D word, not that D word. Nobody likes that D word, right? Discipline. Because discipline has to make you begin to look at yourself. There's an order, there's a structure, there is something that is there that we have to have an understanding about, but it starts here. But a person can't get to emotional intelligence if they don't think they have a problem.
Come on now.
So when you start talking about the baggage and the burdens that people come with, people have to recognize that they come with baggage, that they're burdening themselves, and that they're now projecting that onto other people.
Hmm.
Uh, it literally is like Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. You have to look at yourself. And so, one thing that my one hope in us starting this conversation, this dialogue of better understanding one another and better understanding self first, is that we get to that point. That at some point, we sit down with ourselves. And I think this is a really good exercise, believe it or not. Sit down in front of your mirror, really look at yourself. And I mean, have an honest, deep look at yourself. I don't care if you're naked. I don't care if you got your clothes on. I don't care if you have your best. I want you to like strip away what you show other people daily and really sit with you. Door closed, no kids, no husband, no nothing. Sit with you and look at yourself in the mirror. Just sit there. Start to observe yourself. Look at your face. And then start to hear the thoughts that start to pop into your head. Acknowledge the thoughts that'll come to mind. Because this is, and I really mean this as an exercise. Because of course, I'll never tell nobody to do something I haven't done. When you sit with yourself and you bear it and you're stripped of everything and you're honest with yourself, those thoughts start popping up. It's quiet. Self starts talking. And when your self talks, listen to what it sounds like. What is it saying? What is it saying about you? I don't like this. It always starts in the negative a lot of times. I know it did for me. I don't like this. I don't like that. And I started saying it out loud, what I was feeling, what I was hearing within myself. I don't like that. I don't like that. Why? And then it got me into this groove of one level, it was the what I call surface level, right? Vanity, looks, right? And then it became more about what I want.
Mm.
And then the more I started thinking about what I want, and I'm hearing this, Hayafa just hit it, that negative self-talk, it didn't match up.
Mm.
But the negative self-talk kept talking. I kept hearing it. And then it went to, you faking the funk. Who are you really? And then I looked, it's like, who are you really?
Mm.
Flaws and all. So let's name them. What's your flaws? And I use my government. What's your flaws, Tamara? What's your flaws?
Mm.
This, this, this. Can you work to change them? Yeah. How? How do you begin? That's the question. Now, when I got on the how, is where I was like, okay, that's where I start. How do I begin to change the things that I want to change about myself after I have had that real look, that real conversation with myself? And when I tell you, that's a doozy. I was like in a slump for a minute.
Mm.
I was in a slump. And I'm sharing this because I feel oftentimes, going back to the question I had asked, is why, to even Angel's point, why do we get stuck in this space? Why do we think that change is so hard? Why is change so hard? We don't know, right?
Right.
It's only hard because we've already said to ourselves, it's hard. We've already put it into the atmosphere. It's gonna be hard. But we ain't even tried that yet. We haven't even took a step forward to try something yet, right?
So you know what another issue is with that, Ametia, is what I always hear is, if it's not broke, why fix it?
Mm. But none of us is perfect, so it's something broke.
Exactly. So then that goes into what Azaria was stating in the last yes, Azaria. Our last conversation, like when she meets new sisters, that defense wall goes up. Azaria, can you speak more about that? Like, what can be changed in that
On my end or on their end? What are we talking about?
both, sis.
Both. Okay. So I'll answer your question, but then after that, I wanted to go back to a point that Angel made, and I didn't want to get too far from it before. So for me, when it comes to my defense mechanisms, one thing that I've started to do to change having that wall up before I come into a situation is really just, I don't know, sis. I still got the defense up. I ain't gonna lie. I can't even speak.
Honest.
I
It's
was
gonna
gonna
take
try to
time.
speak intelligently to that, but I still got my defense up. Anytime I come into a situation where there are sisters, I'm gonna have my defenses up. Now, how long it takes for me to let my defenses down, that's going to determine me and them. So I'm going to use, when I came into this circle, how I had my defenses up, right? And I'm like, oh, these sisters from New York, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? New York is a hard crowd. How they gonna receive me? I ain't nobody to them, and I had my defenses up. But I think a lot of times transparency for me works. So if I just let you know, like, yo, like I'm nervous, or I've had bad experiences before, or whatever, I think that it kind of takes the elephant out of the room, so to speak. I had a sister come up to me. It was Sister Tavika. We cool now, but she was like, Azaria, every time I see you, I just feel like something is on your mind, or you don't want to be here. You got this look on your face, like, what's going on? And I was like, for real, sis, I'm just kind of like nervous for real. I don't know.
Right. Right.
I'm like, not to take it, don't take me personally, but take me personally because I
Mhm.
do have my defenses up. You know what I'm saying? So for me, transparency helps. When I just keep it real with a person and just let them know what I'm thinking, a lot of times people either they'll say, "Oh, me too," or they'll say, "Oh, it's different here." Or sometimes a sister be like, "I know what you mean, girl, but we not gonna be like that." You
They
know what
ain't
I'm
gonna
saying?
talk about it right now.
So a lot of times I just express whatever my first experiences were when I came into a certain type of situation. And I'll say like, I'll just state it like, look, I'm not that type of sister, whatever, whatever. I'm just really trying to get to know you. And it works. Transparency works. But I'm more of a communicator. I'll say what I'm thinking. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'll apologize later. So when I'm transparent, it just works for me.
Let me just say that that is your beginning of change for the wall,
Mm.
is your transparency.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because you can take it to another way and have the wall built up and not deal with anybody and walk away. You know what
Yep.
I'm saying? But you don't. You made the choice, or you make the choice. It always starts with self again, but it comes back to choice to say, all right, I'll give it a shot. Right?
Mhm.
And in me giving it a shot, I'm gonna be transparent.
Yeah.
It starts there. Because I would even ask what would be your process of change more so. Not so much like how like of a breakdown or so to speak of the wall, but what do you think your process of change would be? But you already done said it
So,
about that
but what
transparency.
I do also now is I treat the person in front of me like I would want to be treated from gate.
Bingo.
I do. So if I know that I'm in a room, generally I try to introduce myself to every. If I see a sister sitting by herself, I'm gonna go talk to her because I've been
Mhm,
the sister in the room sitting by herself before, and nobody came and said anything
That's a
to her.
fact.
You know what
mhm,
I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
mhm,
Or and mostly that's what it is. So now, if I'm in a room and you sitting by yourself, or if you in your group, eventually I'm going to introduce myself to you because that's what I would want somebody to do with me. And
mhm.
Right.
so mostly leaning toward treating others the way you want to be treated.
Right.
It's simple. It's not even like, the problems are so large, but the solutions are so simple, right?
Mhm,
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wanted to go back to what Angel said because all of you guys laid out some really good foundational points in reference to, why how can we nurture one another if we see each other as enemies. And one of the things that Angel said that really resonated with me is that she has issues with her mother, you know what I'm
mhm.
saying? And communication. And I saw Sister Helena, say,
Gavera Naama. Mhm.
is she an emo? What did you
I mean,
say?
she's
Right.
Gavera.
Oh, okay.
Auntie.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just want to make. But Sister Helena said our first enemy as a woman is our mother or our grandmother. And I wanted to connect those 2 points because
Mhm,
I'm gonna ask a question at the end of making this statement, but or making this point. My cousin and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about my other cousin and how we just have these stories where we exchange our issues. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times our issues are similar in nature. And one of the things that my cousin and I were trying to impress upon my younger cousin was that she has to have a certain level of empathy toward her mother, despite the fact that her mother plays a large part in her issues.
mhm,
Once we started breaking down our mothers, no disrespect to my mother, no disrespect to my grandmother
mhm,
because they made me who I am, but they got issues too. So once you start looking at the issues that or the things that they really were up against, right? It's like I'm a victim in this situation. You know what I'm saying? But they're a victim too.
Mm-hmm. That's a
So
fact.
I'll use myself as an example. Um, by the fact that I was always taught to be guarded when it came to women, right? My mother
mhm,
always taught me protect your household, protect your husband, protect your family, whatever. But when I started looking at my grandmother, well, my grandmother had to raise 9 children by herself, right? But the funny part is all 9 of her children are spread out and they have the same father, right? But she didn't have a consistent man in the house. How is that? You see
Mm.
what I'm saying? How do
Mhm.
you have your children with all the same man, but not have a consistent man in the house? That means that there was some instability going back and forth there. And generally, the instability is associated with another woman,
Women.
right?
Mhm.
So my father did not display those behaviors. However, I was taught to be guarded against other women. Well, that stems back from that. You
Mhm.
see what I'm saying? And
Mm.
so when we start analyzing that core of our family foundation, how we were created, the foundation that we came into, we started looking at it and said, well, how did that instability affect our stability in this generation? You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And so when I started looking at how that instability impacted my mother and how she dealt with me, my mother wasn't a very nurturing mother. I know she loved me. She looked out for me. She made sure I was clean and all of that. But she didn't give me those hugs and kisses and rub on me and stuff like that. It's because what was she dealing with? You know?
Mhm.
Mm.
Right.
So I became less of a victim and more of an observer of what brought us to this place. And then I had to kind of like respect the fact that despite those aspects, they still carried on. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of like transmutation of that energy.
Mhm.
Mhm.
You really looking at the situation, it's like, dang, I'm a victim to this, but my mother's a victim too, and her mother's a victim,
Right.
you know. Um,
Interesting.
I just wanted to speak on that.
I like that you you kind of touched on it because it's almost like shaking a tree,
Mhm.
Mhm.
right? Seeing what comes down, what falls out. And I don't think that's something that a lot of people think to do. What they always tell us, look from the rock to which we are hewn, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
although we know that they're referencing our foremothers, let's reference our mothers.
Mhm.
Let's
Mm.
reference their mothers and
Yeah.
their mothers. And even between that third, like between that third and second generation alone,
Mhm.
you'll be interested. It's interesting when we take a
Mhm.
step back and find out that those inner resources, you know, we
Mhm.
come from women who are used to being guarded. They came from a generation in which they had or felt the need to be guarded. There
Mhm.
was some levels of protection that they had to have. Like, why was that? A
Mhm.
lot of our mothers were abused, whether sexually, physically, emotionally, or mentally. Some of them, whether they realized it or not.
Mhm.
Not maybe just our mothers, but maybe our grandmothers or our great grandmothers. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of that is stuff that gets passed down the line, and then we end up
Definitely.
carrying things that don't belong to us.
I think
Mhm.
another point that I want to bring to light too is the word enabler. A lot of the times we enable other people to do certain actions or to pursue certain things that we may know that's not a good tradition or maybe not a right way of going about things. Even speaking about Azaria, when you was talking about like the way you would speak to your cousin, you didn't enable her. Um, her actions, you was telling her, no, you need to change things up. This is not the way things should be or how to go about things. I think as we talk about enemies, sometimes enemies have friends and they have a group. Um, you
Hmm.
know,
Right.
we have to have these enablers in the group to um, disqualify these actions that's taking place.
Mm,
Are you standing up for what somebody does that's wrong? I spoke about this before, how there's alphas in the group, people who, just naturally loud or naturally just going to speak their mind, like they don't care. I mean, that's just their trait, but are you going to still be that person in the group to be like, hey, like, like calm it down a little bit, everybody has a role in trying to fix this issue at hand. And I feel like sometimes it's not the person who's actually doing it, it's the crowd that's boosting them up or not saying anything for them to perform these certain actions towards people. a lot of the times when we talk about like enemies, and just the word enemies is just so like raw to me, but I mean it
You
is what
said
it is.
war. It's a war.
Raw, like raw,
Oh,
like
okay,
we really
okay.
like we really get into it. Like this is what
Yeah.
it is. Like like I just feel like it's like hatred. Like like the definition of it is like so raw. But I really personally don't feel like I have that I consider anybody an enemy. But I don't like certain actions sometimes that come my way. I feel like a lot of the times when I was growing up in the community, if we want to get down to it, I'm more of the rabbinical Israelite. I'm from that side. Like I guess if we have sides, I don't picture it like that, but
Right.
so a lot of things was said about us, or lectures was given about us, and I don't feel that I consider myself part of the community at one point,
Right.
because I feel like if we all supposed to be Israelites under one nation, one flag, how do you talk about somebody else in a manner like that? Like
Mm-hmm.
considering me as your enemy when we serve the same God.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something as little as like Nasika said, she wear pants. Okay, like what is that prove? What point is that to prove in a lecture? And you have to also realize, like, as these lectures is being formed and comments is being said, there's little kids in the pew and they're listening. At this point, like we have to stop and listen and really understand what we're saying, because it's going to start to become generational, to the point like some people on my side doesn't even really want to come out like that, don't want to socialize, don't really even want to bring the beauty that they have to make this even bigger, because they felt like some of the things that said, or some of the things that was done to them in the past, they just like, what, I'll just stay on my side, I'll serve my God over here, and y'all can just do what y'all want to do. And I just feel like that's from growing up. So the
Right.
reason why I'm here is because I think with my nieces and my godchildren and my cousins, I want them to have a different experience. I want them to be able to be in a real sisterhood and be among people that are different but serve the same God, and feel comfortable at the end of the night who they are, or how they dress, or how they look, and won't be criticized or ridiculed, or so many
Ostracize.
so as we getting into the topic, we really have to really have respect. Let's get to the curing part of this situation, is that I associate with a lot of people in the community just because I love the community. This is all I have. This is my
Mm-hmm.
culture. And I feel like nobody's going to take my culture from me, or put me in a box that I'm not able to be among my sisters or even my community. I feel like I want to make a platform that everybody is comfortable, and everybody's comfortable being themselves. I talked to a lot of people. I was even talking to Ametia and Nasika earlier this week. I have all these good ideas to even kind of like bring us together. I was speaking to Tiffany Mack. I know everybody's seen it. I got her glasses on, by the way. She's from 9 o'clock Tea Party. I was also speaking to Princess Dorita about when we had the last topic, and she was just like, we have to find a cure. And one of the things that she actually did back in her time with bringing the community and the sisterhood together was actually making beautiful clothes. Clothes bring people together, whether you're from this side or that side. I mean, come on, like everybody came together and didn't even speak about the obstacles or the opposite attractions or whatever, but they was brought together with this one thing. Kind of like this platform. We're all different, we all coming together. Tiffany Mack does glasses. Haya Fa has beautiful clothes. Zakia has beautiful clothes. All these people have all these different things that can bring us together, that we don't have to all the time think about our differences. I think we can't really spend too much time on that. We just have to grow. Another idea I have, I know the ladies in North Carolina, they do so many nice wraps with their hair. I mean, I want a nice wrap sometimes. I mean, like, let's bring them on the set. Like let's just take the time and just have fun together. Maybe they can show us how to do the rap. We get some tea, and then we can learn different things. And I think these are ways that can bring us together. Let everybody say what they're good at and their talents, and we can just it's a way to start forming a corrective way of real life sisterhood. Like we want a real situation, so let's just make it real and really learn from each other. I think that's the best solution.
Well, I like the fact that you touched on the enemy part, just to go back just a little bit. And I think it was Tamar that said, like, a lot of us don't even really know what an enemy is. Like, truly. And I agree with that. We've never really experienced what an enemy is. And even from a militant point of view, none of us is putting guns to no one's head. None of us is walking into situations strapped up and it becomes a life or death situation when we're dealing with one another. So when we talk about enemy, who's a true enemy?
I
Like,
think when you say the to me, when I hear the word enemy, I feel like it's false advertisement. Like you the way I feel about it is just like your what makes okay, enemy makes you feel a certain way. So that fury and that anger that you get from that person lets you know that that's a negative vibe. So I feel like sometimes it's false advertisement. Sometimes like if somebody says something about you that's like 100% not true, that gives you that urge inside to be like, oh my gosh, I just don't like this person. Like, I don't, you can feel energy. Everybody knows what energy is. Before people, I mean, black people couldn't read before. We went off of vibes, emotions, vibrations, and stuff like that. This is in our DNA. This is what we are. Like, everybody knows if somebody doesn't like them, or that's just like, that's very like, to
For
me,
sure.
everybody should know the vibe of when somebody doesn't like them. An enemy. That's why I said, I went back and said an enemy is very strong. A person who doesn't like you, you can feel the vibe and stuff like that. But an enemy is a bit stronger in regards to, like you said, enemy lines. Like, are they trying to kill you? Like, what are they trying to do so malicious to make you call them an enemy? That's why I said enemy to me is very raw and it's very strong, because intentionally people don't really want to do any harm. It's just the way they feel for the day. That's my opinion sometimes.
sorry, I see a wheel spinning.
Well, Shakina just said, I wrote down some of the points that you were making because I didn't want them to get lost. You said a lot, and you just said something as far as everybody can feel the vibe, right? So I just wanted to touch on that really quickly because I think we as women, from a
Physiological.
physiological perspective, or from a brain perspective, just to put it simply, we operate with both sides of our brain. And so compared to men, they operate with one side of their brain. So when we are interacting with one another, we're more sensitive to facial expressions, with body posture,
Yeah, the
um,
nonverbals.
tone, you know. Um, and I know this because I'll bring up something to my Ish and I'll say, "Did you hear what she said to me?" And he'll be like, I don't see what the problem is. I think you're overthinking this. There's nothing going on. You're not, I think you're looking at it wrong. And I'll say, no, I think she threw a shot at me right in front of your face. Or, and you didn't catch it, but I caught it, right? So when we start talking about identifying enemies, I think that we as women, the way we do warfare is not necessarily direct. We're very passive aggressive with how we engage in our warfare. And so a lot of times it's really hard to identify your enemy until you get hurt. And then once you get hurt, that's when you realize, whoa, the whole time that sister was my enemy, but I let her in. And I think that's what is so troubling about the interactions that we have with women. And that is that's what makes it so hard to heal, because it's not so upfront and straight up.
Right.
So if I were to take this a step further and say, you know, sis, you said something the other day that I felt like you was coming from me. Well,
Mhm.
I would have to rely on her being honest and
Honest.
truthful about
Mhm.
the vibration that she was giving off.
Child.
Right,
So
right.
now we're relying upon honesty and truth,
Integrity. Hmm.
right? Integrity.
Hmm.
Is that um, that doesn't exist a lot of times in our communication,
There
and
you
so
go. There
it's
But
you go.
hard to identify an enemy, right? It's
Yeah.
but
hard to identify who your enemy is.
before you come off of that, real
Okay.
quick, because you know me, I like poking bears.
Okay.
So basically, we put up these. I'm gonna make it general. You putting up these defenses so you won't get hurt. So we doing things out of fear. So in
Fear.
our movement, I'm saying like in our movement with one another,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you could have one experience. One experience doesn't have to equal every experience in which you eventually have. But let's say you had a bad one. So ultimately, we start building defenses strictly for the most part moving forward out of fear.
Mm.
Mhm.
Like we're fearing the what if. We're
I don't know if I agree to that.
I
somebody.
don't know.
I'm
Okay.
wondering. I'm just pointing it out. I'm poking the bear.
I'm like, I
Wait,
don't know
but
if I
I'm not
before
agree.
saying
y'all,
I agree.
before y'all,
I'm not saying that I agree or not agree with that, but based off of even in when we talk about that, right? It sounds like fear to me. We can have a situation that has happened. Of course, we know that will, put us in a space, and then we'll say to ourselves, "I will never be put in that space again."
mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is we'll do things preemptively. I'm gonna strike you before you strike me. I used to be one of those people. I'm gonna get you before you get me. That used to be a slogan. I promise you. It used to be a slogan of mine. I will get you before you get me. I promise you. And I double dog dare you do anything about it after. You know what I'm saying? I was that person. But
Mhm.
in a general sense, when you start thinking in that way, and I'm a get you before you get me type,
Mm.
is that we're trying to prevent ourselves from feeling a sense of hurt or to be hurt. So I'm like, is that we're fearing the unknown at this point?
It's a
Is that
defense
what's driving
mechanism.
fear coming in? Say that again.
It's a defense mechanism, really. That's all that
Mhm.
is.
But is it
Mhm.
based off of fear?
I
No.
don't think it's
Or
fear,
fear
I
though.
of
I
don't think
think
it's
it's
unknown?
just experience and how you um protecting yourself from
Mhm.
whatever bad emotions or wherever it can take you personally. Like for
Mm.
me, if I know I have a problem with a person, I'm definitely looking past you and going the other way, depending on the moment though. But if I know like it's something that's gonna be really bad, I'm definitely walking the other way because I know that it's not that I'm scared of you, it's not that I have a fear. I just know where I can go with it. You
And
know
when
what
I
I
say
mean?
scared, I
So
mean not necessarily scared of the person, but scared of what may come out of a potential relationship with that individual. Because all we're talking about is relationships.
I think it's.
Right.
I,
So,
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh, you're fine. So in regards to this, I think as a whole, because if we are the children of Israel and we are supposed to walk a certain walk in this way of life that we are dealing with, we are too we are too caught up in other societies, because if we follow the laws and statutes and commandments, right? You shouldn't have that fear of from anybody. You shouldn't have fear of no man, right? So regardless of whatever you do in life, I feel like you just do the best that you can. And when you do see people who claim to be your enemies, I usually like to go back to Leviticus 19th chapter, 17th verse to the 18th. You should not hate your brother in your heart. Rebuke your neighbor frankly. So you will not share in his guilt. Once you start feeling that way in regards to another person, that same energy, that same aura bounces back onto you. So now you have that domino effect. So therefore, that's why I always say to myself, I have to calm myself down because it's just a feeling. You get over your feelings, and I
Mhm.
always try to remember to not seek revenge or bear grudge against one of your people, but love your neighbor as you love yourself. Right?
Can I play the advocate?
And wait. I'm about to tell you about that right now
Okay.
because I know where you're going with this. Yeah, it's easier said than done, right? But what is your overall mission in life? And you strive to do better. You know, yesterday didn't get you far based off of your actions, how you treated that person. And then it came back to you and you didn't feel good about that whole interaction. So why would you continue to sit there and do it again to somebody else? So I just really tried to stick in a mind frame. Okay, if what if this was me? I want to be treated this way, like Azaria was saying, going back to that again, and just being real. If you don't like me, you don't have to like me. I'm not here for you to like me. I go my way, you go your way. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to meet up one day, but when that time comes, you just get a shalom for me and keep it moving. I just don't have time to deal with this because there's more issues out here that we have to deal with than pettiness. Period.
But we got to get to that point. And not everybody is emotionally intelligent to get
Mm.
to that point. And even with, and here's the thing, and I am, and you know me, I'm an advocate for Torah all day, every day, right? And I personally believe that when you apply those principles in your life,
You try to at least.
but you can, no, you apply, you apply, because it has to be a conscious thought, right?
Right.
I'm not saying like all 613 at the same time. No. But I'm saying you apply when you're in relationship to
Hmm.
another person. Like I try not to hold a grudge in my heart, right?
Right.
I got people I could be angry at.
Right.
I'll express that I'm angry, right?
That's
At the
it.
same time, and be like, okay, I'll make a choice in that moment. I can keep it going, because Lord knows, can keep it
Petty
going.
Betties.
Okay, petty, crown
Petty
big, crown
Betties.
big, thick petty crown. Can keep it going. Or I honestly can be like, you know what? Let me process what just happened right now. Let
Hmm.
me take a timeout. I'm good for timeouts. Let me take a timeout. I'll be back.
Hmm.
Let me figure this out before I say or do the wrong thing. Take a timeout. Let me check me, because I'm the only one I can control, right?
Right.
So that's a method of somewhat applying Torah to a situation.
Right.
But you have to know, like, you have to be conscious of it. One, it has
Hmm.
to be something that's always on you for you to even go there to think about. Two,
Right.
how many of us can actually say that that's the space that we dwell in a lot? It's not. I'm a advocate for using the word of God in a way to help myself, not in a way to attack another person, not in a way to make somebody else feel bad, but in a way to say, nah, let me check. I can only deal with me. I can only take care of me right now.
Right.
Right.
That part.
However, it's doable because it starts with one person.
Hmm.
If I say that to myself, then I understand that I am doing what I'm supposed to do. I don't have
Hmm.
a grudge against you. I just can't be in the same space with you right now.
Right.
My feeling or my affection towards you is not what it was.
Right.
I'm angry. I'm upset. I'm not sure how I would handle the situation. So it's better that I stay away from you right now until I
Hmm.
figure that out for myself. Then I'll come back, because I may come back with the shalom.
Hmm.
If all I come back with the shalom, then that's
Right.
okay. We don't have to be friends. Nobody said we have to skip down the road in kumbaya type of situation. We don't have to do that.
Hmm.
But the objective should always be that I should be able to come with some kind of shalom. And
Right.
the
Just
only
start there.
right, because if the Most High said my enemy's ass is in the ditch, the
You
whole
gotta
purpose
help.
of that,
You better get. You better get that donkey.
you better help that man, that person with that donkey. You know
You
what I'm saying?
better help them.
But that's the whole premise behind that. But that's when you start to internalize the word of God. But you have to get to that part first. So I don't have the expectation that everybody's there, even in this community. And I think we all can agree, a lot of times that's the part that pisses me off.
It's a fact.
Right? Like, it pisses me off because I can read the same thing you read. Right? Be under the same teacher you're under. Whatever. Be in the same congregation. But yet I can get it, but you don't get it. But we know that that's our people. That is nothing new. There's nothing new under the sun. We know. Right. But it is something that I have learned, that I have grappled with, which keeps me sometimes away from people. That keeps me in a direction where I'm probably dipping and dodging more so than building a wall. I don't want to build. That's Zari's point. I don't want to build a wall. I make the choice not to build a wall, because if I build a wall, the wall for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everybody. Ain't nobody getting through. I don't care. I don't want to be like that. That's a choice. I make that choice. I don't want to be that person. So if you and I have a conflict, I'd rather us deal with the conflict. If I'm not in the space to deal with the conflict, because I know me, so it goes back to self, I might have to take time out. I have to take a step back. I'll be back though.
But that's self-management.
So, but not everyone has emotional intelligence. For the people in the back who do not have emotional intelligence.
I just think that people just have to, I think, the more that we do this, we have the same people coming on. I think, we just have to just start from the beginning and just grab people on the way of this journey. I just feel like, we're getting somewhere. Maybe it's not as fast as, we ideally want to. I feel that there is unity happening. There's a lot of successful women that's doing very well in Israel. Again, we all need to encourage and support, and a lot of things too. I mean, people create enemies. You can create an enemy, and that person is unnecessary. I know people who, sometimes might be, well, I can associate jealousy to enemies as well. People can be jealous of certain things people have, and that can create the atmosphere of an enemy lifestyle. Or why I can't get married to this person and she has them, or or why does she get recognized more and then I don't? We just have to stop thinking in ways like this, because that can create the enemy lifestyle of how things is going, or how people feel in this community. I feel like this is a good sisterhood. I mean, we have to realize too, like, we got. I mean, we not the Christian faith or the Muslim faith. I mean, they have so many other communities they can go to. If this sisterhood don't work out for them, they can go to 800 others. We need to realize that we are limited. And I'm limited in a way. I'm going to make it seem like this is all you have, but we're not as, our population growth is not as big as the other nations, and we have to really kind of like redefine how we're going about things, if not for us, for the next generation that's coming up. I mean, the enemy lines. I mean, don't be the enabling the person to continue their actions. We all got to come together, and the person who might be feeling some kind of way will come along and be like, you know what, hey, I woke up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody wakes up. Maybe that person just might be asleep. At the end of the day, this is still our sister. We just have to forgive them and move forward. We have to think outside of the box. I know everybody gets comfortable with their cliques. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I got my clique. I don't need no new friends. I don't want no new friends. Like, we got to kind of get out of that, because one day y'all can help me out just like I can help you out. I'm in a financial jam. Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? I have Deborah Mack's number. Let me give her a call. Oh, you know what? I can't call her because I rolled my eyes at her a couple of weeks. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. They can come down to that situation. I'm in a attack situation. You know what? Let me call up. I know he's a guy, but let me call up Oreo. Oh, I can't call up Oreo because I cursed out his wife last week. Like, it all trickles down to, you don't know who you're going to need at the end of the day to get you out of a situation. And yeah, we can pray all night, but the person who can help us is in our community, within our reach. So we got to wake up and we got to come together and just build. And I think we
To
on
know
a
each other.
Yeah, I think it just needs to be the change that you want to see, honestly. And that's, I know it sounds cliche and how many people said it, but that's exactly what I'm applying for myself. There's a lot of times that I don't want to be placed. I don't want to deal with people. Believe it or not, y'all, yes, me. But I get up. I strive, like I tell Messia and Nisiko, I'm a bigger picture person. So even if there's a big elephant in the room, I will still be there because I didn't come here for you. I came here for my healing. I came here for the Most High. I came here for my community. I am just like Shakina. I'm a community person. So when I walk in the room, I'm going to shalom everybody, even if I don't like you. I'm going to say shalom, and I'm going to try my hardest to mend relationships. That's what I've been doing lately, because it just takes too much energy. I'm getting older. I'm 35 now, y'all. Milestone, right? And I feel like it's a burden to carry all of that with you. Like, you know, take for instance, me and Shakina was at Unity Shabbat. You roll up, it's like 300 people here, and you got a problem with one person, and your whole mood just changes because it's one person. Like, I'm not allowing that to take over me anymore. You know,
because it goes back to selfish.
What I have, what the Most High gave me to give to y'all, that's what I'm going to do. If I got the food, like I said, Shakina, come on, let's go. Where y'all going? Let's go eat. Let's, you know, just be the change you want to see. That's all I can say. Like, literally be that person.
But I want to highlight that though. So we've all said starts with self.
Right.
It's a choice. We know we got choices. It's a choice. In that moment, you can make a choice. Am I going to give you shade or am I going to show you love? Right? So then it goes to choice. Then it's like, be the change you want to see. But you have to also recognize where you're at. Mm-hmm. Be the change you want to see. All these principles can be applied to working on change and bettering ourselves as well as our community.
Right.
But that's the bigger picture, to Angel's point. The idea is bettering the community. If I better myself, I'm yet one more person, a part of this community that has made the choice, right, to do better and to be better. So then that starts to pass on. The same way that we can formulate this right here, and we didn't know each other from a can of paint, outside of two that are sisters. You know what I'm saying? You understand? And then also now being able to travel. What a beautiful feeling it is.
Right.
You make the choice to open yourself up. And I'm going to say that because it's very easy to build a wall. The hardest part is to be able to break it and create a door within that wall. Mm-hmm. It's discernment. So you talk about vibrations. It is discernment on who to let into my circle. But to Zaria's point, if you allow yourself to be transparent enough, vulnerable enough, because when I hear transparency, I also hear vulnerability. Make yourself vulnerable enough to the next person, you'll be very surprised as what you will receive back.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because I think each one of us can agree that we've had some levels of vulnerability, right? And we've opened ourselves to each other in a way to welcome. I welcome the gifts that you have. You welcome the gifts that I have.
Right.
And we, and along our journey, even together, we've come across some things, and we come across people who made us second guess or reminded us like why this is so important.
Right. I think that's what it is.
And I always look at situations such as that as one that teaches us lessons. That this is why this is important. So situations that causes division, stop. To Shakina's point, the divisions, whether amongst congregations, sects, cliques, whatever the heck you want to call them, these little things are the things that keep us divided. If I worry about the fact that you got on a pair of palazzos on today versus a skirt down to your toenail, I will never get to know the beautiful person that you
You
are.
are. Facts.
It's something that has now created a division between us that we are trying to avoid.
Mm-hmm.
When we all believe in the same thing, we may go about it in different ways.
Yep. And we need each other, y'all. We like
Right.
somebody said, I don't remember which
Definitely.
one of y'all said so much going on, but we all we got. Like
Right.
literally, we are all we have. I
Right.
think if the Most High meant for us to do this individually, there wouldn't be so many examples of what unity can bring us as a nation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they all worked together, it was so beautiful, and building the temple and praising the Most High. It was
Right.
never an individual task. Of course, people had their individual things that they needed to do for themselves, but
Right.
it was always for the collective.
That's
So we have to learn how to be a collective
right.
together. Like, and I'm really striving for that, y'all. Like, really, 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 really. Because I see so many other people do it, even if they have arguments, the clear folks, right? They have their arguments and they cuss each other out, and but the next day they're hey, and da. All of that is gone the next day. I don't know how they do it,
The
really,
bigger
but
picture.
it is that way. And I want us to kind of like try to be like that. Stop holding grudges,
Right.
unnecessary grudges. I'm not saying that your feelings are not valid, but some of them are unnecessary, honestly. Like
Right.
she said, oh, she rolled her eyes at me. Like, seriously, y'all, we got to do better.
That's all. That's it.
I like
And not only that, step outside the box. Sometimes we get so comfortable just staying in our own box and being okay with it. Like I challenge everybody on here and everybody that's watching. Reach out to 5 new sisters. Learn them. Let them learn you. You'd be surprised. And then the closer you get that network going, the bond you will have with more Israelites. And then you'd be surprised. We could actually make a movement together versus one person, versus 2 people.
Listen, we
And
are amazing, all
it,
of
it,
us.
it will be amazing. Like, everybody like, oh, it can't be done. It can be done. We just gotta take our time, step by step. Not let's go 2 people. Look at Betsy's face.
yeah.
We're 2 people.
Five is a little high for me.
2 people.
No,
You
no, I'm
got
just
20 friends on Facebook you don't even know. Hey, Shalom, how you doing? Like, let's really be friends, quote unquote.
people do
So
it. I mean,
it's very
people do
interesting,
it
and
with
I'm glad that we're
strangers.
starting from here. And if anybody has any comments, concerns, or other discussions for us to start opening, and so that we can close this gap, you know, let's go to the website, put it in your comments, and we're here for it all.
Please. I like. I was gonna say. I'm sorry, and that's because my screen is small.
I know
Eliana.
which one you like. This one.
Yes. Yes. We definitely have to learn to forgive, show mercy, and understand that everyone was raised and learned how to navigate differently, so we can all be pleasing to the Most High.
Yeah, that one is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's the simple things.
Little
It's the
thing.
simple things, and it's allowing yourselves levels of vulnerability. And I'm going to put that out there
Mhm.
because, as strong lioness that we are, we love to roar, but we have a hard time purring.
Right. True.
We do. We have a hard time being able to find levels of to be vulnerable with one another. But I would piggyback with that challenge too. And as you begin to know one another, the relationships that you have fostered continue to show levels of vulnerability.
Right.
Continue to break down these walls. It happens little by little, chip by chip, step by step. All those good cliche-ish ways. Gotta
Mhm.
love it, right?
Right.
This is interesting. I
I
like this.
want- I wanted to say something in reference to when Angel was talking, and it was still 2 more things that I wanted to
Oh,
get.
I'm sorry.
Shakina, no, it's okay. It's good conversation. But one of the things that I like about Angel's approach is that, it's kind of like, there's a broader perspective that we have to take into consideration when we're interacting with one another. And one of the things that I wanted to point out that literally, yes, there is a broader perspective. I ran across an article and it was discussing the social demographics and how they are shifting. So within the next 30 to 40 years, we can expect that the melanated population is going to be the majority population, both internationally and nationally.
Mhm.
And so, with that perspective and having that understanding, a lot of us will still be alive when that takes place.
Mhm.
But as we're transitioning into that place, I said to Baruch, I said, well, with that understanding and knowing that we will become a majority population, it's projected that we'll be a majority population. Um, what happens if we don't change how we think, transform and renew our minds and how we approach life and how we approach relationships and how we communicate with one another? Then even though we're a majority population, we'll still be operating within a minority mindset.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm a
And
firm
so in
believer.
operating within a minority mindset, what comes along with that? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's that lack of communication. That's allowing those things that we are running into, the issues that we're running into with one another, to disrupt or to disable our growth
Mm-hmm.
and to destroy, our communities, right? And so that's one thing that we don't have the luxury. I know that Shakina stated to stay on our side because some of the hurts and issues that we have experienced within the community, um, within the Hebrew Israelite community. But for real, this is not just exclusive to us. I feel like this is a women's issue,
It
for
is.
real. Because I've been in all types of groups,
Right.
communities, on my jobs, in school, any community. I've been around white girls. I done seen them do the same thing.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is a women's issue. But of course, our community is a priority to us. But we don't have the I want to say that we don't have the luxury of staying on our side. You know what I'm saying? You say when we come into these situations, it's like, well, forget it. I'm just gonna stay on my side and I'm gonna serve God the way I want to serve him. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna interact with the community, but I'm not gonna turn my back on the creator. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the luxury to do that because our salvation relies on one another.
Exactly.
So when we take into
Literally.
consideration,
Sorry.
it literally relies
Literally.
upon us coming together. We don't have the luxury of staying in our corner. And when you
Mhm.
understand the magnitude of the impact of us walking in unity with one another, it becomes more serious. So
Mhm.
I want to refer to this point, and I promise you, I'm going to bring it all together. So just really quickly, I was watching this sister. Her son had got shot in the Buffalo, New York situation, right?
Mm.
And she was addressing Congress, and it was literally a sister, and she was talking about how her son got shot, and she was trying to portray the picture for Congress how he had these bullet holes in his body. She was now with had the task of cleaning his wounds, and he was a young man. He was in his 20s, and because of this senseless violence, here she was, right? So while she's giving her testimony, she's reading off the paper, and I feel her. You know what I'm saying? And I feel the words that she's saying because the words that she's saying, they're thought provoking, right? If you're
Mm.
really listening to what she's saying, I'm like, wow, I couldn't imagine, right? But then how she's delivering the message it was very mechanical in nature. She was very composed, emotionally composed, right?
Absolutely.
And I was like, wow, she's emotionally composed, but even though she's composed, I still feel her, right? But as she got deeper into her testimony to tell them what was going on with her and her and her son's experience, what resonated with me the most was how she had to do. She kept pausing, right? And when she would pause, she would just like
Deep breath.
she had to take these hard pauses, these deep breaths. And it was really like I could see she was really holding back some really strong emotions. And while she was talking, I was like, sis, just let it out. Let them know how you feeling right now. Tell them how you really feel. Tell them the hurt and the pain that you let allow them to feel that. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like because we have that indirect or passive aggressive warfare within the women community with one another, we don't really have the luxury of expressing the hurt
That's a fact.
that we're causing one another,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's frowned upon to be weak emotionally
Emotional.
our community, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I just recently experienced some real hurt from a sister, and I was like, yo, like, why my mother didn't warn me that women do this to each other in at this particular age group, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the hurt that I had experienced reminded me of something that I had experienced in elementary school, right? And I had to go back to the recesses of my mind. I was like, dang, if when I was this age and this happened to me, I cried, right? I cried. I came home to my mother and I cried, right? And when I got to school the next day, I was like, I don't understand. Why would you do this to me? You know what I'm saying? Or what did I do to you for this to happen? And sincerely wanted to know because I really wanted to fix whatever was not adequate about me, right? For this situation to happen. And just had a sincere moment with this sister when I was a kid, right? But when you're grown, you can't do that. You can't show those raw emotions. You can't portray yourself in a way that's real and raw. You can't be vulnerable, right? So basically, I feel like vulnerability is a cure to the issues that we're facing in our community because a lot of times we're hurting one another, but we are not experiencing the backlash of the hurt from when we hurt somebody else,
Mm-hmm.
but we know what it feels like when we get hurt. But because we're desensitizing ourselves to the hurt because it's so prevalent, it's almost like it's becoming this perpetual thing that we experience as women, whatever we're experiencing, right? So whether somebody took your man, you got a friend that told your business, um, something happened where sister, shaded you because something you had on and you didn't have on, we can't readily express our hurt because we have to be composed or we have to be strong or we have to be whatever else, right? So I feel like vulnerability is the key to the cure,
And
but
accountability.
accountability is as well. But are we really going to get to that place? Um, I don't know if that's a realistic assessment to say be vulnerable to a sister, either way. You know what I'm saying?
But I
Because
think if we don't try,
Right.
you understand what I'm
right,
saying? And for the sake of transparency, I recently had this issue, right, with a sister. And I had to be transparent about how that individual was affecting me.
right,
Now, whether or not she walked away caring, whether or not she walked away with the sense like maybe I won't do that again, and I had to say, please see it from my perspective. You understand what I'm saying? How this can affect me. I didn't necessarily cry about it, and I wasn't angry. Like I wasn't outwardly, I didn't show outward anger, put it that way. Didn't get attitude because my intention was for this person to hear what I'm saying as in a manner of respect, right? I had to reconcile with myself that I don't know when she walked away that she understood what I was saying to her or not. I don't. And I don't know if this individual will even change, you know what I'm saying, or start to view their relationship with me in a different way. I don't know. But that's okay. And I had to say that to myself. That's okay. And the reason why is because I did it without having to punch nobody in the face. And I'm just being honest. I'm so serious.
Right.
I did it without having to put my hands on anybody. I did it without having to cuss somebody out. I allowed myself to be vulnerable enough to say, this bothers me, this hurts me, this is triggering to me. I had enough to say that. And when I did, I freed myself of a situation. And I also freed myself in understanding that maybe you're not the person that I need to be around all the time. And maybe you're not a person that can be in my tribe or in my circle in such a way that I would all the other people that I have in my tribe or my circle. And that's okay. But at least that from me to we had I had an open conversation with you, an open dialogue where I allowed myself a level of vulnerability. That was for me.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can do it with her, I can do it with another. And the next time I have a conflict with the sister, I can do the same thing. I'm going to pull her to the side and I can say, this is how this has affected me. And I want this to be better. How can this be better? Or help me to understand why you're doing this to me. Because I actually asked that question. You understand what I'm saying? My only thing is it's the individual healing too. And
Yeah.
so you plant a seed. Whether
I got a question for you when you finish.
Go ahead. But I was gonna say whether she gets it or not, it don't even matter. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to remember when we first came together as a group, and I was like, every time sisters come together, it's the conversation is like totally different, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hear Baruch in the groups, and they conversation is not like our conversation. We get in the conversation, we talking about hurt, how we've been hurt before. We talk about vulnerability. We putting our defenses up. We letting when you do an introduction, generally a sister introduce herself. She'll introduce herself. We'll get past the formalities, but then it'll be like something like they'll eventually you're gonna get around to I've been hurt before,
Mm-hmm.
and you'll hear that in so many words, and then you'll hear don't come for me like this in so many words, right? And that's it never fails. Any sisters group that I've been a part of, you're gonna hear me tell you, I've been hurt before. Not everybody does it, but it is a point to be made in the sisters group, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna tell you, this is what I don't go for. And these are my defenses. I got my defenses up. And
Mm-hmm.
she's laughing because she know I'm telling the truth, right?
Exactly.
And it doesn't necessarily come off direct. It's definitely very indirect. But if you've been in the group, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I would want, I said, in finding the cure of what we're dealing with as women, period, I would want to ask, I pose a question to y'all. Do y'all feel like, because every time we start talking about our hurts and where we are, like we discuss our past hurt or our relationships with our mothers, our grandmothers, and how that has impacted us and how we maneuver, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talk about the hurt that men have caused us, you know what I'm saying? And then the hurt that we've caused one another. So I would pose the question to you guys that is, are the issues that women face, are they imposed upon us by an existing structure or power structure, right? Like the patriarchal power structure, or is it something that we have within us, like is it a part of our nature? Because when you start talking about looking for a cure or finding a solution to our problem, is it something that is being imposed upon us, or is it something that's in us naturally?
I think it's something. I think it's something in you naturally. I was looking at Revel, and I think the question was, would you want loyalty or would you want respect? Which one would you want? And I just think that it goes back to your question. And I think, my conclusion to this whole situation is that I think it all comes down to respect. I respect you even though I don't know you, but I respect you because you're God's child, and you have a mother and you have responsibilities. You out here trying to survive like me. You have problems just like me. Like I said, we're more relatable than we have differences. But I respect you because I don't know anything else but to just respect you. And if you have that same kind of vibe and that same kind of quality about me, whether we have a kumbaya conversation about X, Y, and Z, we still have that respect line of shalom, sis. How are you? But that shalom says is that I respect you, shalom, and then we can just gradually move away. And I think this lack of respect, and then like we talked about before, lack of respect when it comes down to XYZ. But if we just have that common respect level of regardless of anything, we have more qualities than differences. And our nature as a people is to love and to have harmony amongst ourselves and have that respect line. We won't be in half of the situations that we're in.
So you said first, you say you think it's naturally within us, the confrontations that we experience with one another.
I didn't say naturally within us. I said that I feel like if we have, wait, repeat that one more time because I
Yeah.
don't think
I
I said
said,
that.
like,
Yeah.
my question was, no, because you led with something. I
Yeah.
said, my question was, the experiences that we're having, right? They're so, it's like, you experience it in every group. You experience it at work. You experience it in your
Of course.
family. You
Hmm.
experienced it as a child when we were little girls. We experienced these issues with women. Now that we're grown, that's why I referred back to the situation that I recently experienced and the hurt it caused me. Because now that I'm grown, I'm feeling the same type of hurt that I was feeling when I was in like third grade. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I thought we matured out of some of this foolishness,
I think
right?
it's twofold.
So is it natural for women to hurt one another, or are we being hurt based on what's being imposed on us by
So
men? Because we've been hurt by men. They be playing games with us sometimes. We be playing games with each other. We've been hurt by each other. We hurt. What is it? Is it natural, or is it something that's imposed upon us?
I think it's twofold.
yeah, I think
Okay.
it's both.
I was gonna
I think
say,
it's both.
I
Yeah.
think it's just as when you're growing up, it's always easier to do something that is wrong or bad or negative, right? Than opposed to doing something that is good. For me, I don't know why that is. It's always easier for me to say, I'm not getting up and going to school today. I'm going to just go over here with my friends, or than to go to school and actually sit there and learn and do all of that. I think we have to take that time to, like we've been saying all night, to reflect, to give
Mhm.
what we want to get. And that's basically it. Because it's so much easier for me to go into a cocoon and say, blocking everybody off.
Mhm.
It
Right.
is.
Right.
I don't have to see you. I don't have to talk to you. I'm changing my number. That is so easy to do. What
Yeah.
is hard is for me to sit here and have this conversation with you and
Mhm.
actually try to pull out of me. Right now, it's hard for me to try to pull out of me what is making me this way, or why do I feel this way, or why are we like this, or why do people treat me this way? Because I feel like I'm nice. I walk in a room and I say
Mhm.
hello to everybody. I
Right.
talk to
Right.
everybody.
Right.
If I have
Right.
it, you got it. That's just how I am.
I think
But
Right.
so
then
too.
I get the sideways and I'll be like, well, dang, sis, all I said was shalom. Like, what I do to you? You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mhm.
So again, it's just, I think, I don't know. It
I
So
just,
you say you're getting it no matter how you're approaching a situation with a sister, whether you coming into the situation nice, whether you coming into the situation quiet, you're gonna
exactly.
get the same type of energy no matter what.
Hmm.
Right.
What you think, Nasika?
I think it's both, twofold. Like the rest of the sisters was stating, because um, your surroundings play a major part in order for your reaction. Um, you could be taught just to ignore, but sometimes you keep on poking at that one person, and you keep on poking. One day that person is gonna poke back, and people are not prepared for that. So then that makes you out to be the bad person that you are, and you really do try and you strive to do good. But then it goes back to natural instinct. I think it's just a natural instinct that we have as humans, because we want to be loved, we want to be nurtured, and you might be missing that small piece of love, and you're looking for it other places. So therefore, you try other places and they fail you. And so that makes your heart harden, you know, and you go through the same cycle over and over again until you find and so your heart gets softer, and then once your heart gets softer, then you be okay.
And the reason why I ask, it's a whole point, it's a whole method to my madness. Why I'm even asking the question, because I came across some information and I wanted to share it with y'all. And I think that it will be helpful in us finding the cure to these issues, because I think at this point, we've been around the block enough to realize what our issues are. We see the issues playing out in our mothers. We see the issues playing out within our community when we're just interacting with one another. We see the issues playing out. Our daughters, how many of y'all had to go to bat for y'all baby at school already? Had to tell your baby, like, look, I got you. If they come over here, I got you. I remember my mother having to walk the neighborhood with me because girls wanted to fight me and I didn't know why. You know what I'm saying? So
Okay.
we've experienced it on so many different levels. You know what I'm saying? And so I would just like to propose a thought that how many of you have heard of intrasexual rivalry or intrasexual competition?
Right.
Okay. And so I just want to put some information out there because I feel like knowledge is power. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So, and then I just wanted to make a point after this, just for thought, So, intrasexual rivalry is a driving force behind sexual selection. Women's intrasexual rivalry surrounds competition over reproductive opportunities and resources.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I read that, I was like, hold on, wait a minute. You mean to tell me we were literally out here competing off of reproductive opportunities? I could see that, but I've experienced drama between women beyond reproductive opportunities. Like I've seen women far out of their reproductive years have
Still
conversations.
acting a fool.
Yeah, acting a fool. I remember one time, and it's funny because these people were the others. And I remember one time I thought these women were best friends, right? I kind of admired their friendship. I don't know how I knew them at the time, but the experience is more important than anything. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, one of them came and I was sitting at a desk like I'm sitting now. She's talking to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're having a little conversation. And then her friend comes in and peeks her head into the door and she says something real quick. So when her friend leaves, I'm thinking we getting ready to pick back up on our conversation. So when her friend leaves, she turns around, she looks at me and she says, she's so jealous of me. And I was taken aback by it. I was like, wait, what? I thought you guys were like this, right? So she's like, she's so jealous of me. And I was like, really? You think so? She was like, I know she is. And that really messed me up because I had never even if she had never did that, I would have never saw that, right? So I'm thinking to myself, like, what would cause these women to be so close and so cool with each other, but for her to feel like she needed to tell me that when I don't know them like that, but they're supposed to be best friends, right? So the thought that I had in my mind was that women deal with a lot of uh, internal issues, I think, that are more natural than what we may think they are. And that's what the driving force is behind our confrontation. And we have a need to be connected to one another, and we have a need to have that interpersonal relationship with one another. But it's something else that drives us to have the issues that we have. So when I read that definition of intrasexual rivalry, I said, well, beyond the reproductive opportunities, well, we know what that is, obviously. We got sisters, you know, in a moment of desperation, I'm going to try to get your man, Also, when we start talking about having a competition behind resources, it took me to the hierarchy of needs. How we are. I said, well, it appears to me that when we're really looking at how women interact with one another, we're interacting with one another in a way that is strictly based on us having certain needs, and looking at the sister next to me as an enemy is kind of like, well, she may be a threat to my needs. And I just want to state what the hierarchy of needs are, just to put it into a perspective. So at the base level, you have your physiological needs, food, clothing, and shelter, right? And we see people will do a lot of different things to meet those needs
To
of
meet those
food,
needs.
clothing, and shelter.
Absolutely.
If you get into a desperate place, you won't kill, steal, whatever you got to do to get what you need. If you're in a desperate place, we see human nature drives a person to do a lot of things. So you think about a sister acting in an act of desperation to secure her needs. What does that look like? A lot of times that looks like doing whatever I got to do to get a man to help provide those needs. Or if I'm on a job, I'm going to do whatever I got to do to cut this sister down so that I can have my needs provided to get the promotion or to get the hours or whatever, right? The next level of needs are safety. And this is just basic human needs, but I'm talking about how women address their needs, right? The next level of needs is your safety, feeling secure, the need to feel safe. And as it extends up, it becomes less physical and it becomes more mental. So going to having the need to feel love and a sense of belonging. Then we go into the need to have a certain level of esteem. And then we go into self-actualization, basically how we appear to others and how we present ourselves to others, right? How we present ourselves to others and how others perceive us. And it's funny because beyond all those needs, that's the highest need.
Isn't that something?
That's the top of the pole, right?
Right.
And so I feel like when we're interacting with each other as women, we're really operating from a place of lack.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's deep.
That reminds
I like
me
that. I want to
of
copy.
sorry. That reminds me of our foremother Leah. Even though the situation is a little different, but she was striving with 4 children, and she had the children and still couldn't find within herself what it is that she needed. And it wasn't coming from a person, right? It wasn't never going to come from the man, the children, the sisters, the family, nothing. It was going to come from reverencing the Most High. So sometimes when all else is going wrong, we really just need to turn back to the Most High. You know what I'm saying? I had an issue with Naish in the beginning before I came into this way of him waking up in the morning and just dipping. Like I have that, I want to be loved, hugged, kissed all day, every day. Okay. And for me, after coming into this way of life, right, growth, I realized that I had that issue because I would wake up in the morning and not reverence the Most High. So if I'm not reverencing the Most High when I get up in the morning, why should he reverence me? You know what I'm saying? Because the Most High comes first. So that just reminded me of that in a matter of speaking, that sometimes no matter what you do, it's about the healing within yourself and reverencing the Most High and living righteously. And then everything else kind of falls into place.
That's right.
So,
and I will say it's not an impossible thing for things to fall into place. It is possible for things to fall into place. You have to be in a space for it to happen.
Yeah.
So,
somebody had made a comment while you what did they say? Somebody made a comment.
Insecurities, unawares is a big issue. We are quick to forgive a man, but will hold grudge with a woman forever.
That's a
If
fact.
we do better with debating our cause with each other, it would be less discord amongst us. But it comes with communication, and it always goes back to self.
Facts.
it always goes back to self. So, you know what I mean? As we wrap this on up, and it was a lot of food for thought.
It was a lot.
I think it was a lot that was unpacked, but I do feel like there was running themes. So I'm with always the takeaways. I'm gonna reiterate them again. Check yourself. Check yourself. Try to exercise. Sit in the mirror. Talk to you. If you don't feel the need to sit in the mirror, just be by yourself. Talk to you. Get to know you. Flaws and all.
Yes.
Begin to love you. Flaws and all. That does not mean embrace the parts of you that you know needs to go. When you are honest with yourself, you can be honest with others. When you truly see yourself is when you can truly know yourself. How you get to that point, you got to start looking at yourself. We have to start recognizing who we are. We have to start loving ourselves and be willing to show that love to others. Starts with choice, making choices. We have a choice. I have a choice to make you my enemy. I have a choice to make you my friend. I have a choice to make you an associate, an acquaintance, until I get to know you. And that's okay because I'm setting boundaries. And that's okay. I can be transparent, which is a form of vulnerability. It is honesty, and it's still coming in love until I'm comfortable and you're comfortable in knowing who I am or the potential of who I can be and the potential of who you can be, right? And above all else, we keep the creator in the center of our lives.
I like what you said that.
As an individual. The love that you want to see for yourself, and I say this to all women.
There you go, hit it.
The love that you want to see for yourself, be reflective of that love.
Right.
It was pointed out, the golden rule. We all learned the golden rule in kindergarten. Do unto others as you want others to do unto you. Right? But that reflection, be the reflection of light the Creator asked us to be.
That's right.
But to Angel's point, which I do love, have that relationship with the Creator. Find your relationship with the Creator so you can find you.
That's right.
So the divine can be able to shine through you. And a lot of those insecurities that sister was talking about, which is all of which we're talking about, these are insecurities, these are deep-rooted generational things that are embedded within us. You will start to break those things. You will start to break those chains. And as our children begin to grow, they will see you. And I'm talking more so to mothers with daughters. The more you show your level of growth, the better she's going to be in her growth process and in her journey. And the more secure she's going to feel and the more aware she's going to be so that she too can show her light, which is within her because she learned it from her mother. We do not have to repeat the mistakes of the past. The past and our history is here to teach us so we don't repeat it. But we're always in a constant state of repetition. Let's start breaking the channel, break that chain, break that negative connection and vibe, and let's, one, grow up. Right? Let's grow up. Let's deal with those feelings that we didn't deal with and we've never dealt with. Let's learn to love ourselves so that we can learn to love others. I want to end with our motto and our vision because usually I start with it, but I was so excited. So for those that don't know Na'Shay Chayil, our motto, I value my sister because she is valued by the Most High. If you walk through your life and you see another woman and God created her, who are you? Who are you to stand in her way of anything, especially in a negative manner? So that's that thought. I value my sister because she is valued by the Most High. Our vision is Na'Shay Chayil. We have committed ourselves to service to our Elohim, service to our communities, and service to our families and each other. We welcome sisters to join us on our rediscovery of sisterhood. We discuss topics of interest that aid in our spiritual growth. Torah is our fence. We aim to learn and impart Torah into our lives so we can truly live up to the name Na'Shay Chayil. And as always, as sisters, we will always come with the hospitality of Abraham. We will be honest with one another. We will speak wisdom and encouragement to one another. We will value, honor, and respect one another. We will create a safe environment for one another. We will be our sister's keeper. We will maintain spiritual growth with Torah as our fence. I want to thank everybody. We have closing. We do have some announcements, so don't go away. My sister has some announcements that she wants to bring out, but I do want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. And I hope that people walk away with something that makes it better for tomorrow. So we see that next sister tomorrow. You go to work tomorrow. You better hug somebody. Okay, go ahead with your announcements.
Catch Kina.
Okay. Announcement will be back on next Wednesday, June 15th. And the title and the discussion will be on spiritual connection to our physical makeup. We'll have a special guest, and you'll see the special guest on Wednesday. We want to thank you again for having this discussion with us. We love your comments. Please email us and give us all your comments, ideas. If you're even willing to come on, if you have some good suggestions or you're advertising something, just let us know. We want to support each other, and we want to thank you again for coming out tonight. Blessings to everybody. May Hashem bless you real good this week, and we'll see you next week.
Absolutely.
Shalom. And don't forget to follow my page. Follow the works of Angel's Hands. Follow me, y'all.
Like and subscribe.
We also have a few things going on in our community this coming week as well. I know B'nai Dot, they have their event coming up on Shabbat, June 11th.
June 12th. Oh, June 11th and
June
12th.
11th for their 68th anniversary weekend. And then on that Sunday, the Elegance Day, wear white and a splash of color. Then we also have our other sisters that does their show as well on Tea Tuesday. Tamar and Hayafa as well. Please tune into them as well. And, let's support each other and keep each other going, uplifted. And also, congratulations to our sister Chantel on her graduation. Mazel tov to all the graduates near and far.
Yes. Let me shout out my baby real quick. Can I shout out my baby real quick?
Yes.
You said graduates. So my oldest son, Zion.
Yes, Zion.
He didn't necessarily graduate. He's been promoted from the 5th grade, but I was super proud of him because he received the Academic Excellence Award.
Nice.
The superintendent's superintendent's office.
Superintendent, yeah.
And he was surprised by it, and his brothers were able to witness him walk across the stage at the ceremony. It was a closed ceremony, but I'm very proud of him for achieving that. And so I wanted to shout him out with that.
Congratulations.
9 children in the 5th grade that received that award.
Awesome.
Only 9. And I told him, well, that sounds like you're a part of the top 10, son. So I'm proud of you.
Nice.
And shout out to Tavika's daughter, Titi.
Yes.
Graduated, going to college.
Yes.
I want to just real quick, and I can't because I got the glasses on, but that's not what they're used for. Let's see, can help me out. The last comment, Eliana, is that correct?
Yes.
I just want to thank her. She said, Toda to you all. This was a great discussion. Toda ya. Please keep it coming. I've been searching for y'all and watched every vid. This is my first live. So welcome. I'm glad you're here. We loved your comments.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for supporting us. And to everybody else, I know Hayafa had to leave early. I know Tamar's out there. I know Gavera Naama, because she's been on my text messages hard. But we just want to, I honestly, on behalf of Na'Shay Chayil, honestly want to say thank you all for your support. And you know what? Believe it or not, thank you for the battery in the back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes we do need the energy to
Yes.
be able to know that, you know, people care about the things that we're bringing forth. And I know that sometimes it can be a struggle with juggling everything sometimes. And
Yes.
so by y'all just being consistent with us, we are doing our best to be just as consistent with you all and bringing you the
Thank
content that
you.
you like and you appreciate. So I want to say thank you from, you know, from
Thank
us to
you.
you all. Truly, truly thank you for all the support that you ladies give us. It's been awesome. And to our brothers out there, because we know y'all watching
No,
too.
we know y'all watching.
And you can join us.
Above all else, we love y'all. Don't think
Join
we
our,
don't.
our
Baruch is
Facebook group
watching.
as well.
Baruch is watching.
So
Don't forget
again,
to tell them you could join our Facebook group as well.
we do have a
Yes.
On
Facebook group. We
Na'Shay
have
Chayil.
our YouTube channel as well as Na'Shay Chayil. Please feel free to join us. And again, we would love to see you guys next week, Wednesday, June 15th, as we close out the part 3 of this series of what it is to be a woman, as we talk about these spiritual connections, our spiritual connections to our physical bodies. So we thank you again for all your love and support, and we pray you have a great week.
Lalato.
Lalato, shalom.
Shalom.